the one and only, April Ludgate, Emily Benedetto, Ingrid Thurburn, Harper Spiller, Aubrey Plaza.
Okay, I'll give you the backdrop to the fact that we now have the pleasure of having you here for the Bergman Week, not only like in and out one day, but an entire week. It's spectacular. And Aubrey is also accompanied by her husband, Jeff Baina, who's a scriptwriter and a director. And yeah. And yes, they have worked together, but no, they didn't meet at a shoot, right?
No, we did not.
No.
We met at a game night.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
And we had a game night together the other evening, which was
yeah.
spectacularly funny.
Yes.
But anyway, the backdrop then is that sometime in November, our artistic leader, Kasia, who was here, she picked up an SOS on the World Wide Web, and it was like a cry for help, really, and it went like this. I love Ingmar Bergman. I really want to go to Fårö. How do you get invited? I need to go. So, and as we are kind and warm-hearted people, we never ignoring a damsel in distress. We stretched out a hand and a helping hand, and here you are.
Wow. So thank you. I had no idea when I said that, or that was like a weird fever dream or something.
You didn't know that it would have consequences.
No, I never know. I just say, people make me, do interviews, and then I say something, and then I, now I'm here. It's like, I don't know. It's like a weird, I don't know.
Nightmare.
Yes. I had a nightmare this morning.
But that was because, I had to tell you, Aubrey, what a heroine. She, at 4:00 in the morning today, she went to the screening of Hour of the Wolf.
Yes.
At Hour of the Wolf, it screened, of course, consequently at 4 in the morning.
I did.
Yeah, so that's how the nightmare appeared.
Yes. When I was driving back from it around 5:30, I don't know, there was a bunch of sheep and... Is it sheep or lamb? I don't understand why...
They are sheep, but here they're called lamb.
Why?
Because it's a local way of putting a name on them.
Isn't a sheep different than a lamb?
Well, the Gotland sheep are, of course, very distinctively original, since they're Fårö sheep.
But, okay.
Let's not go too long into this.
Whatever. They were in the road, and they were running, like, really fast, and they look really scary, and... then I went home, and then I woke up in a sweat, and I was waiting to have my first Bergman nightmare, and I finally did this morning. So
now you can tick that one off.
Yes, I will tick this one off.
But going back to the fact that you're here, etc. So why did you, like you said, why did you need to go? Looking back at this.
Okay, well, first of all, I don't even think I realized that there was like a festival. I think maybe it was an unconscious thing, but I knew that Fårö was like where he shot his movies, and I heard about it really because Mike White and Mike White did the White Lotus with me. We were traveling in Sweden and in Norway 2 summers in a row. And because we were doing a creative exploration, and I had been in Sweden multiple times at this point, and we discussed about going, and then it was like it just didn't work out. It's very complicated to get here. There's a lot of ferries, and then I don't know. But so I didn't. I think I always heard about it, and I always thought about. I need to go on the rocky beach. I need to see the stacks, as you guys call them. But I think it was what stacks.
I think you're referring to the rocks.
No, but like the big ones. The stacks.
Rocks.
Okay.
Well,
the rocks, the lamb.
Let's not fight about it.
All right. But so it was always like a thing in the back of my head because Mike and I had talked a lot about Bergman, and we talked a lot about, there were just, I don't know. And then I heard one of my friends did the writing or residency program. And I was jealous when I heard about that. And he told me like, oh, I got to go into his house and look at his stuff. And I was like, oh my God, I want to go touch all his things. What would that be like?
And now you know.
Yeah, I did yesterday. Yesterday was a big day for me. I think that's why it was like a very, Bergman came to me yesterday. Like, I don't know. But yeah, so it's been a couple years in the making, and it's been actually a dream of mine, and now it happened. I feel like I'm very grateful to be here, and I was here on my birthday. It was my birthday on Monday, so the festival started on my birthday. It just all feels like it made sense. Like, yeah, it's actually a dream come true. Yeah. Yeah.
So tell us how you became a Bergman fangirl. How did this love for Bergman start, or where? How?
I mean, I think I just, I saw probably some of his movies in college. I went to film school. I've been obsessed with movies pretty much since I was a kid. And growing up, I was always making my own movies, and I knew I wanted to go to film school. And so I went to New York University for film school. And, one of those classes is like film, theory and critiquing movies, which is what I loved. And I saw some Bergman films in school, and they, I don't know, I think I think I always had a kind of assumption that there wasn't an in for me there. But every movie I saw of his, I was always like, it always just stuck with me. I think just the visuals, and then also, the subject matter, but there's just a really kind of underlying kind of, I can feel like there's just a feeling to his movies. And then I think when I really became a super, super fan was after I saw Scenes from a Marriage, which was a little bit later for me when I saw that. And it was so different than a lot of the other movies I had seen. And it was so focused on performance and acting. And I couldn't get over the fact that it was so compelling to watch two people just have a conversation in one room for so long, because it seems so simple, but it's really the hardest thing to do is to make a conversation interesting on camera. Otherwise it's a play, it's meant to be a play. And I just was very, very taken by how compelling that was. And I think then, yeah, and it was so different. And then I think after that, I had seen Fanny and Alexander for the first time, which was obviously so different than that one. And then I don't know, and that also like blew my mind in a totally different way. It was it reminded me almost of like a Barry Lyndon, or like there was just something so decadent about it, and kind of I don't know, just funny and creepy and scary. It had everything in one movie for me. So I watch that every year. I love that movie, but I think it was a slow progression of things.
That you've called Fanny and Alexander your comfort movie. How is that a comfort movie?
I don't know. Maybe because I grew up like Catholic, so like Christmas is, and seeing. I don't know. I think it's just because I don't understand Swedish, but it's like there's something to the sound of that movie that's comforting. Like I always like put it on in the background, like when I'm doing stuff, because it's like it's like a soothing tableau. I don't know, and I think it's like candy to look at for some reason. Whenever I'm like, it's just I could watch it without the sound off. I could just listen to the sound. It's also creepy, scary and weird. But those things are comforting to me sometimes, I think.
And you even saw it so often that you actually picked up some Swedish?
Yes. Well, I've picked up a lot of Swedish over the years. I've...
And we have this new expression here, thanks to you. You know what I'm referring to?
Oh, the way that I count?
No. No.
Sorry.
We're not going there.
Oh, I understand. Jag förstår.
No, I'm thinking of the... your...
tusen bra?
Oh,
Why is that funny?
Well, they're all laughing.
A Swedish person told me that. I didn't make that up. Or maybe, did I make that up? Is that not what people
it
say?
doesn't really exist, but I think
When you're like, oh, that's like a really, really good. You go, tusen bra. Yeah. That's not a thing.
well, now it is.
Okay.
Now it is, definitely.
You say tusen tack, so.
Yeah, but we're always going to say tusen bra from now on.
Tusen.
Yeah.
Toppen.
Yeah, toppen. Well, most people here certainly would associate you primarily with White Lotus, the second season, where you played Harper. What was the last name? Harper
Spiller.
Spiller.
I think, yeah. Spiller.
Yeah, we'll talk more about her. But your acting career actually started back in 2006 with the political satire Parks and Recreation, which you might have seen too. Yes. Yeah, which was and still is rather hilarious. And sometime after that, you really became a household name as April Ludgate. So, and it ran for 7 years or something like that.
Oh, yeah, 7 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's quite a stretch. And so that kind of shaped your image as sarcastic, weird, and deadpan, to sum it up in 3 words. And people seem to think, I believe that April was the real you, the real Aubrey. So how did you work your way around that conception of yourself as an actress after those 7+ years?
Well, do you think April is the real me?
Absolutely.
No, come on. I've shown you all the
I
colors
don't, of
me.
course.
Okay, good.
But I mean, in people's minds, I mean...
No, I know. But just because you spend time with me, I have no perspective on myself in that way. It's really hard for me to know. I think the thing about April Ludgate is the way I got onto that television show was I had a meeting with the creators, and I had no idea what was happening. It was not an audition. I just was sent there very early on when I didn't really understand the weight of these Hollywood meetings and these kinds of meetings. Like normally now I know that you go to one of those meetings and you try to sell yourself and all this stuff, but I was going like wearing jean shorts, like, I don't know why I'm here. Like, what do you want from me? And I think they were like, whoa, like, who is this person? And then they wrote me into the show based on my attitude problems, I guess. But I wasn't mean, but I was more just like being, I don't know. But and then I think also in the room I did kind of pitch them. I pitched them the idea of April Ludgate in the room because they told me they were writing a script. They were going to have Amy Poehler play the lead, and that she was going to be very, very positive and happy and, you know, wanting to make change and all this stuff. And I said, well, it'd be funny if she had an assistant that didn't care at all about the job and like hated everybody and just wanted to get college credit and go home. And they were like, you know, so they went with it. And I think there are aspects of April Ludgate that are definitely me, but it's a heightened version of me. And I think because it was my first job that was on television that nobody had seen me before, I think they just assumed that was me, you know. And it was parts of it, but I think and then I think after a couple years of that, I always had like a burning kind of desire to do movies because movies are my real passion. I never meant to be on TV. They were like, you know, it was nice, but and I was lucky. It was a really amazing cast, and like, you know, we really had a great time, and I felt like I hit the jackpot with that TV show. But I was very, very, very wanting to do movies and do other characters because, you know, and then I think also there's like we were discussing earlier about my interviews. I've grown a lot, you know, and but back in the day, I think, I don't know, like I guess maybe there was a persona that I had created that was tied into April, and then I was going on these talk shows and I was being weird, and then so I think it all kind of fed into itself, and but at the end of the day, I think I know that, you know, I'm able to play all kinds of characters, but Hollywood is very, you know, they see that you're good at one thing, and then they just want you to do the same thing over and over again. You have to try very hard to not do that.
Yeah, sort of repetitiveness.
Yeah.
You did it well. Let's do it 10 times
Yeah,
over.
which is boring. Yeah.
Anyway, you mentioned that you went to this audition. You didn't really know what it was all about or how it was going to be. But was that during that legendary week where you landed 3 major roles in one single week?
Yes.
Tell us about your lucky week.
Well, so basically I was up for a very big part in a movie called Funny People that is a Judd Apatow film starring Adam Sandler. And Judd was trying to find a stand-up comedian. And I was in New York at the time, and I was doing comedy, but mostly improv and sketch comedy. I was not doing stand-up at the time. It's a very different art form than improv because, you know, you're alone and it's like a whole different, you're just writing jokes. But when I heard that he wanted a stand-up, I decided, okay, I'm just gonna film myself doing stand-up and pretend that I am a stand-up and just send the tape and see what happens. And so I did that, and he totally bought it. And he was like, this is great. This is kind of what I'm looking for. So we want to, bring you out to LA to do a chemistry read with Seth Rogen. And I didn't have an agent at the time because I was just doing really comedy stuff and theater stuff in New York. So I went out for 1 week, and the casting director on Funny People, Allison Jones, just kind of said, well, while you're here, would you mind going on some other meetings? And I was like, no, I'll go, do whatever you want. Which is one of those meetings was the Parks and Rec meeting. And one of the other meetings was a audition for Scott Pilgrim versus the World, which I also was a huge movie, and I somehow got it, it's like I cut the line. I somehow got in, and I auditioned for Edgar Wright, and I remember doing my audition and then them going like, okay, cut, and then I'd be like, all right, bye, and then they were like, whoa, this is Edgar Wright, this is the director, and I was like, oh, I thought you were like an assistant or something. So it was every meeting I was like, I didn't, and then I think that's the thing is when you don't seem to care, they always want you. That's a lesson. They want you more if you seems like you don't care.
So that's been your strategy ever since. Hard to catch.
Maybe not on purpose, but I think when I look back on it, I'm like, thank God I didn't care. I think my mentality is, of course I cared, but I was waitressing, in New York. I had nothing to lose, and I had no idea that it was possible for me to get any of these things. I really thought there's no fucking way I'm gonna get these parts, so I'm just trying to have a good time in LA. I was trying to find Judy Garland's house, and when I went to the Parks and Rec meeting, I was just so starstruck because they were shooting The Office at the time, so I was looking in the doorway going, oh my God, Mindy Kaling and Steve Carell, all those are actors, and the guys were like, yeah, but we're trying to have a meeting with you. I'm like, I'm trying to see the actors. These people are famous. So yeah. So it was 1 week, and then I found out first that I did get the Funny People part, and then a couple weeks went by, and then I got a call that said they wrote you into the Parks and Rec show. So you're going to be in that too. And then I got a call that said I got the Scott Pilgrim part, and I was like, this is insane. And so basically, yeah, I just packed my bags and moved to Los Angeles, and I never went back. Yeah.
Okay, that's really tusen bra.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's talk just a little bit about White Lotus and the character that you, or rather Mike White, then created for you. You are being dragged as a wife to Ethan, his name was, right?
Yes.
Along on a luxurious vacation, and his stinking rich business partner, yes, who also is Ethan's college mate.
That's right.
And Harper herself is rather sharp, and critical-minded person, and also by professor a lawyer, rather sullen lawyer. So do you feel that, also going back to the general conception, whatever that is, that Harper is kind of a misunderstood character?
I do. I feel like, yeah, I mean, I think especially in the context of that world, you know, the world of the super wealthy going on these luxurious vacations. And I think I felt that way, that it's like, I think she kind of like came off, you know, as I believe Mike even in the show wrote like a thing about like she's a pill or she's kind of a drag or like a downer, you know. But for me, I was like, no, I don't think she is. I think she's just really smart, and she is not playing games, and she's just, you know, tells it like it is. And I think women especially sometimes don't get away with that as much. And then it becomes like, oh, they're just a drag, you know, they're or whatever. But I think my mother is a lawyer, and she's a very smart, very critical thinking person, and so I kind of grew up with that vibe, so I understood it. I feel like I get that, and I think a lot of times I feel maybe with me, my own life too. It's like, you know, a lot of times I'll just say it like it is, and then people think I'm like, you know, taking the piss out of them or whatever it is, and I'm like, no, I was just, you know, just saying what I thought. But I don't think she's ever. Yeah, I don't think she was. I think she's also kind of suffering in a way. You know, I think for me it was very important for the White Lotus to have Harper and Ethan right away start in a not so good place, because it's more interesting for me to have a character that is already had enough right when we see her, because then there's so much further to go. And then, but if like you start and they're fine, they're not great, but they're fine, then it's just, I don't know, it's like more boring for me.
Yeah, and just more boring for us as well.
Yeah.
I mean, she's really interesting to watch, and you make her compelling to watch. Because you can't like second guess her. That's just what I think anyway.
Yeah.
And so this role was actually written to you by Mike White, and I have read, you know, that there'll be a third season of White Lotus, and for some unfathomable reason, you're not in it.
Well, I don't think I am. In fact, I believe I'm not. But I don't know if anyone, and I'm not reading up on the news, but I don't know if anyone from the second season will be in the third season, because it's meant to be an anthology show, so it's meant to have a totally different cast, although obviously Jennifer Coolidge went on to do the second one. So I feel like Mike has some master plan, you know, where I think what he's going to do is bring someone back from the first season and then put them in the third season, but I don't know. And I have no info on that. But all I know is I am not going to Thailand. So
okay,
that's all. I'm staying in Fårö.
You don't want to...
I'll do my own Purple Lotus.
Yeah. Purple Lotus on Fårö.
Yeah,
That's intriguing. Yeah. What is the main attraction, do you think, with these series with filthy rich people like Succession or White Lotus, for that matter, besides the money?
Triangle of Sadness. I think people are always obsessed with kind of like class, you know, politics, and I think it's like, I don't know, it's just obscene. That world is it's ridiculous. And I think the personality types, I think people that have just like lost touch with reality are just interesting to watch, especially I think when you have someone that isn't really from that world or didn't grow up like that, and then they're shoved in there, and then it feels like, I don't know, I think the audience can relate to that, because it's such a small percentage of people live that life, you know, small percentage of people understand what that is like. So I think it is fascinating for most people to watch, because you just can't believe it. It's
a bit like keyhole peeping.
Yeah. Yes. 100%. Yeah.
Well, let's dig a bit into your Swedish connection.
Oh, God.
Your other Swedish connections, because just like you told us, you've been here twice before. And I don't know how far you want to go back, but...
Oh, God, don't make me go too far.
I'll give it to you. Aubrey had the intention to make a film in Sweden, and the three options were, if I remember correctly, one alternative was that it was about the story of your Swedish grandma's life, and another was that it was yes, an immigrant story that ends up in your childhood terrain in Delaware. I mean, Swedish immigrant, depending on which way you look at it. Okay. And the third alternative was that it was to be a story about the younger Aubrey's experiences or relationship with a Swedish exchange student. So what would you think? Do you think it's one X or two? Well, hands up for 3. Okay, we'll skip that. But tell us,
prize for these people? Okay. 3.
Yeah, one
I
X2 it's actually, but...
Is it 2? I lost.
Well, no. Well, come on.
Oh.
Whatever the numbers, you know the correct
2.
answer, right? No, don't go there.
Oh, sorry.
No. This is a very dirty joke from last... Yeah.
Fem.
You can take that when this
All right,
session
I'll do
is
it.
over.
Okay, sorry.
No.
Yeah. Well, a long time ago. When I was merely 16 years old. I'm like so scared to talk about this in Sweden because I'm afraid, like, I'm not going to name any names, okay? Okay. But basically, it's true. There was a, exchange program, as I'm sure a lot of you do those programs. I know you did in Idaho. Iowa. But I met the Swedish exchange student when I was 16 years old, who was a very, very nice boy. And he was, in fact, painting the sets or making the sets at the community theater that I was performing at, which I was like very active in the community theater. And I was like, I want to be an actress. And it was all very dramatic and romantic because, there's the Swedish boy and he can't really speak English so much, but he's very good looking and he doesn't even know how good looking he is, that I'm way out of his, league, but, and so basically I wanted to invite him to go to prom with me. And, but I thought it was like, he wasn't really going to be able to speak English or maybe know what was going on, and I was a kid, so I didn't know. And then I called him kind of, and also I thought it would be just fun to take some random, because I went to an all-girls Catholic school growing up, so it was just, he went to public school, so I was like, this is so crazy to ask this Swedish kid to go to prom with me. Oh, prom. Sorry. It's like the big dance at high school, like prom. What do you call it? What? Ballin? Ballin. So I asked him to go to Ballin, and he and I thought, but it was a couple months later after I had met him at, but I knew his host mother. I knew his host family because Delaware is a very small place. And so I called the host family and I said, can I speak to, we'll just call him, Olaf. No, Eric. I don't know. You know his name. His name's Johan. But I'm not going to say his last name. Everybody's name is Johan, so I feel like I can say it. And you can't figure out who it is. Don't try, because I've already told the Swedish press that I'm not going there. But anyway, I'm going to make this long story very short. I called the host mother and I said, I'd like to speak to Johan and invite him to Ballin. And so she was like, okay, here, hold on, I'll get him. And then she put him on the phone and I was like, Johan, this is Aubrey. He was like, yeah, I know who you are. And I was like, you speak English? What? And then he was like, yeah. He's like, I've been here for a couple months. And I was like, oh, well, do you want to go to prom with me? And he was like, yeah, do you have a car? I was like, yeah. And then tusen bra, yeah. And then that was it. And so then I spent a whole summer with him, and I became very, obsessed with him, we were teenagers. I was a teenager, but and then of course I thought I was going to move to Sweden, have Swedish babies, and so that's when I started to learn Swedish, because I thought I need to prepare for my whole life. I'm going to be living, in Malmo. So I gotta get ready for Malmo, and then that was where it all began. And then we spent a very beautiful summer. And then the fact is, those programs end and they go away, and on a bus, they take them away on a bus, and then you never see them again. And I have this obsession my whole life with the idea that we technically never broke up. Because we didn't. So after I would get out of any major relationship, I would always think in my head, well, technically I'm still with Johan, because we never broke up. So I decided to explore this concept 10 years later after the fact, and which is kind of when I started coming to Sweden. And
some would call that stalking.
That's right. But yes. But some people like to be stalked. Okay, it just depends.
Did you want like it?
I'm not gonna go there. But basically, like, I had this whole kind of eat, pray, love, like Swedish style like trip for myself. I came alone for like a couple weeks, and I definitely did some weird stuff. But then that was over, and then I went back, and then 10 years later, 9 years later, I met Mike White, and I met him at a party, and this was long before the pandemic and before the White Lotus, and I was a huge admirer of his work. I think he's one of the most brilliant writers working today, and I was a dream collaboration partner. I always wanted to work with him. And I just randomly started talking about Sweden with him. And the minute I said the word Sweden, his eyes lit up, because he has, I think, Norwegian, possibly maybe Swedish also roots, family that he wanted to explore, his family history, his family line. And so I started telling him about this stalking situation. And he said, well, I love that. And how about we work on it together, but I'll only do it with you if you meet me in Stockholm and we stalk together. And I said yes. And so that was that. And then that turned into this kind of, creative exploration where we traveled to Scandinavia multiple times and created a script, and we were going to make a movie about this stalking situation. And we were set to do it right when the pandemic hit in the spring of 2020, and we were going to shoot in Finland. We in fact had a production company over there. We had people, on the ground working in it, and the pandemic kind of washed the movie away, unfortunately. But then Mike started working on the White Lotus as kind of an answer to the pandemic. And of course, that was a great thing, because it was such a huge success for him. And that's how I ended up on the White Lotus, because we were trying to work together for years on this other thing. And then once he, switched over to that, he just said, like, just wait, I'm going to write you into the show, and then we'll do that. But it is an unresolved thing. So I think at some point I will have to finish this once and for all, and whether it be in Finland or whether it be in Fårö.
Not by killing it off, but injecting some new life.
Yes, maybe, perhaps I'm not done with this, and perhaps there needs to be another stalking. Maybe I'll call it the stalking. I don't know. I'll think about it. And there was a Bergman, like a Bergman theme running through the film. Actually, it was so that was a very important aspect of the movie, actually, which is obviously why he titled it like that. But there was a lot of Bergman going on in there.
If you decide to do something, we can promise you a lavish premiere at the Bergman.
Okay,
week.
Great. Yeah. I'm going to manifest this.
Absolutely. The movie we screened here Tuesday night was Emily the Criminal. Yes. Kind of a different kind of thriller where you play Emily, of course, down on her luck and with a lot of debts, and she gets involved in a credit card scam and becomes very good at it. And you also had the producer's title for this film. How did that come about? And have you done other forays into actually producing?
Yes. So Emily the Criminal is my fourth producing credit, and the first one I think you mentioned before. My husband made a film called The Little Hours. I have my first producing credits on that movie. We shot that in Italy years ago, and then Ingrid Goes West was my second producing credit, and really the first movie that I really produced, like, you know, from the very beginning to the very end, and had my hands all over the process. And then the third one was Black Bear, which was a movie that unfortunately also came out right at in March of 2020. It was supposed to come out. It was one of those movies that I feel like kind of got, you know, missed. But if you ever want to check out Black Bear, I'm very proud of it, and it's like a really special movie. And then Emily the Criminal is the fourth one. But all of these movies are writer directors that I've collaborated with, and roles that I've been really wanting to play. I think there's a part of me that loves producing, at least at this point in my career, because I can have more control over the parts that I want to play. And I feel that all these parts are really different, and they wouldn't be offered to me kind of randomly otherwise. But really, more than the acting part of it, it's just scripts. All the scripts for these movies are really, really well written and really great scripts. And I read a lot of scripts, and I am always kind of interested in making a film that sticks with you, a film that is not just good, but like great, or at least that's what I want it to be, and a movie that you want to see more than once. I feel like a lot of movies, independent films, it's just really hard to make a really great movie. You can make a good movie, but to make a really, really, really great one, it's just hard. And I have a passion for trying to find those movies, those scripts. So these are all kind of examples of scripts that I had read that I just decided, like, I see it. It's like when I read something I really love, I can see it. And if I see it, then I wanna do it. You know,
So you simply have to do it yourself, Aubrey.
So I think I'm getting to that. But I'm getting to that place right now.
And your Swedish feature will actually be your directorial debut.
It could be. It's possible. It could be.
We're looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Okay, just 6 months ago, you were hosting Saturday Night Live, which I understand was a big deal to you.
Yeah.
And from what I gather, you had some kind of master plan for getting there. And tell us about that.
So speaking of stalking, I stalked the show. I'm like a stalker. I don't know why. I was obsessed with Saturday Night Live since I was a kid. It might feel like a lot of actors have that kind of like childhood dream of hosting that show. I wanted to be on the show. Like, I wanted to be in the cast. I was really motivated to just be involved somehow. And when I was in college, I got an internship there, and I was working in the design department, which is what my monologue was about when I hosted, because I was like, I have to talk about this, because I spent an entire season working with the set designers and kind of like creeping in the shadows, watching the rehearsals and stealing the scripts and like going to my room like, someday this will all be mine. And I was just, crazy. But like, just very crazy obsessed with the show. But it was an incredible experience to be able to like see how the inner workings of the show went, and just to be around the talent. I think at that season was Amy Poehler was still on the cast, which is really mind-blowing that I ended up on a TV show with her, because I was just at that point just watching, and just going like, oh my God, like So it's been a really wild journey to get to the point where I'm hosting the show, and it was completely different than I thought. You know, being there as a host is a completely different experience than being there as like a lowly intern. But it's all, yeah, it was a very, 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 probably one of the most, probably one of the best nights of my life, you know, and my family too. My mother was dancing on the tables until 8 a.m, and we shut the whole place down. So,
But you did something really entertaining of it. It was fun, you know, walking backstage on the show and meeting all your old colleagues and Amy Poehler, and it was fantastically fun, I thought.
Thank you.
Well, future stuff coming up next is a Marvel spin-off series called Agatha, I don't know how you pronounce it.
Mm-hmm. Agatha?
Yeah,
I think, yeah. I don't know if they released the
Coven of Chaos?
official title. Coven of Chaos is what they've been calling it. Yeah.
Right. And also Megalopolis, which is Francis Ford Coppola's mega film,
Yes.
with a pretty impressive cast, including, aside from yourself, Dustin Hoffman, Lawrence Fishburne, Jason Schwartzman, Talia Shea, Adam Driver, Forrest Whitaker, and Shia LaBeouf.
Yep.
What can we expect from Megalopolis?
Oof. Well, it's Francis Ford Coppola's. It's his passion project. I'm sure all of his movies are, but this one in particular, he's been trying to make for 30 years, and he poured everything in it. I believe he self-financed the film. We shot it for a couple months over this winter, and I believe it is the most expensive independent film that's ever been made in the history of movies. So it was a big, huge, massive, epic undertaking, and but at the same time, I think it also felt like any indie film, which is always so interesting to me because I navigate a lot of types of sets, even Marvel and little movies and sitcoms, and I'm on different kinds of sets all the time, and films just always feel the same no matter how much they cost. But I think it's a very, very big idea, this film, and it's I don't even know how to describe it. I don't even know if I'm legally allowed to say anything about it, but it's just I think it will be, and he said it too, like that it's unlike anything he's ever made. It's set kind of in the future, and it's kind of about the fall of America, but kind of comparing it to kind of the fall of the Roman Empire. So there's this kind of Roman kind of aesthetic, and it's an epic love story, I think, but I don't know. And my character is just really one of the most, it's just I can't really say anything about him. I don't think I'm allowed to say anything about it, but I feel like it's different than anything I've ever done before, and I think that it's gonna be something.
Yeah, sounds like there are some wow factors involved here.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that okay?
I don't know.
Okay. Interesting.
For you to say.
Interesting.
But it sounds like it the way you pitch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Wow is definitely the word.
Wow.
There is a wow factor. Mark my words. Remember that I said that. Remember that I said that.
You know what? I think it's gonna be tusen bra.
Tusen bra.
Definitely. But we were speaking, or I mentioned this list of mega actors, and speaking of that, I'm thinking of Robert De Niro. And in 2016, you played against him in a film called Dirty Grandpa. And according to reports, you really scared the shit out of him. What did you do exactly?
I was just being my character. No, I think I had one objective in that film, and that was to get with De Niro. And so as a serious actress that I am, I take that very seriously. And so I was just giving him a lot of attention, and I was just really going for it, because in my head, you know, I'm working with De Niro. It's like I got to show up, and I think he was. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but there was a moment that we had kind of in the middle of the shoot where he kind of invited the cast over to his place for like a Sunday kind of drinks or lunch kind of thing, and I showed up, and I'm not wearing my wig, and I'm not wearing my costume, and my hair was actually kind of short at the time, even though in the film my hair is down to here, and I just looked very different, and he didn't even recognize me. At that point we had made out multiple times. You know, most of the scenes in the film were making out.
Dirty grandpa.
Exactly. So it was just funny to me, because I think up until that point, I think he thought that I was my character. I would have to assume. But then I said, Bob, it's Aubrey. We're, you know, I'm an adult just like you. I'm not totally, you know, psychotic, but I think he got a kick out of it, and I think he wasn't like running, you know, crying in his trailer or anything like that. I don't think I scared him that much, but I think I was very aggressive, very, very aggressive.
He just wasn't aware that he was the subject of some method acting.
Yes, and me neither. I had no idea that I was, but I found out. We've all found out that day.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think with the little time we have left, that we should let on this huge audience.
Okay.
If you have questions.
Yep.
So this is your one and only chance.
Do you have for these Swedes that have such trouble to show their true selves?
Is that true?
So the question, if anyone didn't hear it, is what advice do you have to these poor, you didn't say that, to the Swedes who have such a problem expressing their feelings? Let us hear you
I
out
don't
on
know.
this one.
Okay, first of all, I am not good at expressing my feelings. Okay, I'm like a complete like. You should talk to my therapist. Like, I really. So I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Do you have one?
Well, I'm in between right now, but I think, I mean, Swedes know. To me, okay, I don't know about. I'm not. This is. Swedes at least have a feeling of like, you know, we're all gonna die. You know, I feel like you guys think about that death a lot, right? Isn't that like a thing in
I think
Swedish
you've
culture?
seen too many Bergman movies.
Okay. No, but in my head, I'm like, I do think, and I have had not near-death experiences, but slightly almost. And I think there's some part of me, I think, that my approach to the world, or like to, you know, even just to my job sometimes, at least the parts of my job that have nothing to do with the actual thing that I'm doing, which is acting, and then I have to do all this other stuff like this, but this is fine, this is really nice. But it's like, I think I have a thing in my head where it's like, you know, we're all gonna die, so nothing matters, and like life is just like not even real or something. Like, I don't even know what we're doing here. Like, so maybe that's like a weird way to go about expressing your feelings, but I think I always grew up with the instinct to just not care what anyone else thinks, because ultimately, like, nobody really knows anything, and like, you know, unless someone could say like, you know, I know everything and this is exactly what's going on here and why we're here on this planet. Then I just kind of think we're all in the same boat. So like, who cares? But I don't know if that's like a nihilistic like attitude, but I think that's where it comes from. Let your freak flag fly, because like we're all the same. I don't know.
You're creating this movie. So it's Swedish, the Swedish movie you want to make, or another one, but you can only choose two of the following options. You can have good actors, good story, or like good cinematography / direction. The one you choose to get rid of is like terrible.
Wait a minute.
So you're making it's like
Wait.
it's like
What are my options?
It's like choose between the two. Good acting.
But that you said you did 3.
Sorry, 3. You have to choose 2 of the 3.
Okay, I'm really bad at math, so can you speak slower?
So 3 options.
Okay.
And one of them's got to go.
Okay.
And you need to tell us why. So, good story,
Story,
good acting,
acting.
good direction / cinematography. So, like the actual visual stuff like that.
Okay.
No, don't make me do it.
Please tell us why.
Yeah, so if anyone didn't hear it, it was like a personal quiz here. If you had to choose between a good story, good acting, or good cinematography, was that it? Yeah.
Good direction.
It's like being deaf or being blind. What would you choose, Aubrey?
I would choose 2 of the 3. Thank God. I think I have to choose story first because like that's what we're doing. We're just telling stories. Everything starts with a story, so I have to have good stories. And then I'm gonna go with acting. Cinematography is cool. I was never a very technical. I appreciate good cinematography. Don't get me wrong. In fact, I love the tall Scandinavian cinematographers that I've met throughout the years because they're so tall that they can see, things that other people can't see. So I feel like I'm in better hands with like a tall Norwegian cinematographer.
And they're all named Johan.
Yeah, a lot of them. So it's easy. But I think I value acting honestly so much, and like Emily the Criminal is a good example. Like all the movies really I think that I produce I would hope are good examples. Casting to me is everything. It's like, especially when it comes to independent films, because my kind of approach is like, if you can, even if someone has one line in the movie, even if they have like just a look, even if they're just have a moment, if you can cast incredible actors for every single part, then the audience won't be taken out of it, even like on an unconscious level. I think when there's bad acting or there's something that just feels slightly like off and not real, then the whole thing is kind of, it just goes into another category of movie. Like to me, it's like that's the sweet spot, is if you can have incredible acting, even the bit parts, even the extras, even and Francis Ford Coppola's like this too, is always about the acting, then you just have a better shot at making something good, I think. Even if it's like Emily the Criminal was shot, we didn't have any money. So if you watch that movie, it's like, it's all over the place. It's almost shot like a documentary. There's no lighting setups. It's very minimal. I've never looked worse in a film. But I'll take it. I'll take that over beautiful, imagery, just for my own personal preference. So acting and story. But that was a good question. Thank you for making me think about that.
So the question is, you're named after a song by the
Bread.
Oh, the bread. Yeah. So can you still listen to this song?
Is that the question? Can I listen to?
That
Like,
was
do you
the
mean
question.
like, do I hate it? You know what? I actually do have a very complex relationship with this song. I was named after a song called Aubrey from the 70s, right? 70s, Bread, the band Bread. Were they popular in Sweden? Okay, so
Can you give us a few, like
it's
Helmet or-
okay. The reason why it's hard for me to answer is because the song is a beautiful song, but there's also something kind of tragic about it. It's actually kind of depressing. It's like it's an eerie sounding song. It's a lot of things that make me go like, why, Mom? Why did you do that? Because my name Aubrey, if you look it up in a book, a baby book name book, it means ruler of the elves or king of the elves. And that's true. That I think is cool because I like elves and I like trolls, which is another reason why I like Scandinavia. But now I got off track. Oh, I hate it. Don't hate it. I love it, but it makes me sad, and it's the lyrics go. I can't even sing it because it's not even like in a key that makes sense to me. But it's like, and Aubrey was her name, a not so very ordinary girl or name. All right, I'm gonna stop. But it's basically like it's a unrequited love story about someone, I guess a man that met a person named Aubrey and like fell in love with her but then never saw her again, and it's like it's just depressing. So that's me.
Yeah, that's Aubrey Plaza for you.
King of the elves. Tack så mycket för att du har lärt mig.